Okie. Let's do it. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? You guys can hear me and see me. Just put it in the chat. Get this thing started. Give it another minute or so. Everyone kind of trickle in. Hope everyone's having a good day. What's up, Gordon? Saving a lot of people. Erin, Albert, Boar, Cassie, Charlene, Dallas, Dana, Dave, Erin, Jean, Jen, Julie, Kevin, Lauren, Loretta, Mika, Peter, Rebecca, Ryan. All right. Cool. It's got about 20 people in so far. A few more might start trickling in. Just change this to everyone. Okay. So thank you guys for making it here live. Super excited to get to do this and give you guys some time, and hope everyone is enjoying ECA so far, going through the course. Obviously it's pretty packed. There's a lot of stuff in there. And I hope I designed it a way where you feel you can come back to it over and over again, because those processes are the same processes that I myself and my team and all the writers that I've trained that we use every single day. And if you're an email copywriter, you're probably going to be leaning on a lot of that, the market research, the email formulas, the strategy components behind the broadcast, and the launches, and the autoresponders and those kind of things. And obviously the client getting stuff in terms of the scripts that you're using, you'll probably use those every single week for the rest of your career, the lead generation practices. So hopefully you guys are getting some good value. What we want to do in this call is basically like, now that you've been through part of the course or some of the course, or maybe even all of the course by now, if you kind of blitz right through it, what I'm going to do is just take some time and answer any questions, give you guys some kind of like, laser coaching, I guess we can call it, do some like mini hot seats, like tell me what your problems are. What are the things that are holding you back in your freelance business? What are the outstanding questions you have? What are the things that you need solved? And hopefully I can help you solve them right here on this call. So the way we can do this is you can drop them in the chat. You could also use, it's probably actually better if you use the Q&A section. There's on the bottom of the Zoom window, there's a little thing that says Q&A, and you can just pop in your question. That might be easiest. That way I can kind of look at them and take them one by one. So feel free to start firing away. I could just riff and talk. If no one has questions, I could do that, but it might be a little bit more targeted if you guys give me specific things that you want me to cover. So give everyone a few seconds and we'll go from there. George snuck in there. Got a few more people coming in. All right, we are on the board. So Dallas had a question. First question, are you promoting the product with each email? What is the ratio of value to promotion? So that's a good question. So there's a lot of people in the email marketing space, depending on who you learn from, and they say, you got to give a lot of value. And people like to quote the Gary V, like jab, 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 right hook type thing. And I'm of the belief that I don't think you necessarily need to do that. You could always sell. I promote products in every single email that I send, unless I have a specific reason not to. Let's say like, I'm promoting a webinar. I'm not going to put a product link in there because I want you to register for the webinar, right? Or if I'm promoting a YouTube video, I want you to go and click to watch the YouTube video rather than to buy something. I still might eventually, like for the YouTube video, I might put some ride-along offers in, but or if I'm doing a pre-launch, let's say like the cart isn't open for the product yet, I'm not going to put a product link in that email because it's not open yet. But in general, just regular like nurture emails, I guess people would call them, or just ongoing broadcasts and campaigns and things like that, I always sell. I don't think there's a reason to not sell. I just haven't had anyone produce a good reason why you should not sell in every single email. Like if someone could give me that reason. I've heard people say, like one person one time said they went through a course, and I don't know whose course this was. There's a lot of courses. So I don't know. I haven't been through every course, but someone said that they went through this course and the person teaching the course said, you should be promoting following like the Fibonacci sequence, which is, I think it's like you promote on the first day, then you wait a day, and then you send another email and promote that day. And then you kind of like space the emails out. And I guess it gets like more and more of a buffer in between every single email. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. I'm a marketer. I like to sell product. And the thing is, like, what you have to understand when you're promoting products with email is that when someone buys your product, That's a win-win situation. First heard this from Paul Mort, and it kind of like blew my mind. I don't know if you guys know who Paul Mort is, but he's a really smart email marketer. He's been in the game for a while. Really solid dude. I have a lot of respect for him. But he said, this is his quote, he said that basically it's not a win-win, it's actually a win-win-win-win, because when he sends an email out with a product link and someone buys the product that he is selling, he wins because he gets money. His family wins because now his family has more money and more experiences. So so they can live a better life, right? The person who buys the product wins because now he gets to work with Paul and gets Paul's help, and that person's family win because they get the outcome that they're trying to achieve, right? So when I look at this and I say, okay, I have solutions. The only reason someone's on my list is because they have problems, and I have the solutions to those problems, and they are learning more about me through my emails to learn whether or not I am the person who's going to help solve the problems with the solutions that I have existing. So like, why would I withhold that from someone? Do I not want the win-win-win-win to happen, right? Of course not. Like, I'm going to help this person by getting my product or service into their hands. They're going to benefit. Their family's going to benefit. I'm going to benefit. My family's going to benefit. So I don't believe in any ratio value to promotion. Like, every single one of my emails is valuable, and every single one of my emails has a pitch. That's the way I look at it. All right, next question. Julie said, do you recommend writing emails for a specific niche or for any niche? I like variety. So some people don't. Different strokes for different folks, I guess. I don't like, some people like, I just write alternative health. I just write finance. I just write for, business to business software. I just write for, supplement products. And like, that's fine if that's what you enjoy. I don't enjoy that. I like variety. I like different types of products and kind of testing my skills in different markets and giving myself challenges. So it's really like, it's the energy test. It's what gives you energy. Like, if you're working on projects with the same niche over and over and over again, and you're getting more and more energy with every single project, cool. If you find, it's kind of like a cell phone battery. If your battery goes from like 98 to 4, then you have a problem, right? Like, it's always about following the energy with the type of clients that you like working with. And it'll probably change and evolve over time. Like, I have been working with e-commerce clients for a long time, but I didn't only exclusively, and I actually still don't exclusively work with e-commerce clients now. We have digital course clients and things, but I've had a different ratio in terms of, like, I used to work, most of my work was with digital course creators and online, coaches, consultants, like those kind of people. And that ratio is now way down. And now I pumped up the ratio or the percentage of e-commerce brands that we work with. So, and it might evolve. It might evolve down the road too. So something to just think about in terms of following your energy. Dallas also said, I've seen the products in the PS line with every email. What are your thoughts? Yeah, they work well. That's called a super signature. I think that was first popularized by Dean Jackson. I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, but he's kind of the guy who made it famous. But they work. Assuming you have good offers and they're aligned with the people that you're mailing to. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If you're doing that because you're afraid of selling, I have to ask again, why? It goes back to, do you want it to be a win-win-win-win, right? Like, do you want to help your people? I don't know. People might just be like hesitant about asking for money or asking for a sale, and that's fine. But the person who's not hesitant is going to eat your lunch every single day. So it's a good strategy. But if you're doing it because you're afraid of actually asking for a sale, then you got some internal work that you got to do. Ryan said, I noticed your emails, you do not write a preview text in the subject line. Do you type preview text for your clients, or do you think it impacts open rate at all? With ConvertKit, there's like a liquid code formula that you could use for preview to change the preview text. That's why I use ConvertKit for my emails. With clients, we tend to normally write preview text, but what I like doing for preview text, with my own stuff at least, is I like just minding the first line, like knowing like, okay, I know I'm writing the first line of that email. Like, I'm okay with what they're going to see because it's going to be hooky and build curiosity as well. So like, sometimes people like, they'll make the preview line like a second subject line / headline type thing. It's okay to do. Does it impact open rates at all? I don't know, maybe. I think the subject line is the thing that catches the most attention. I think the preview line is just the kicker. So maybe marginally, but I don't really, I'm not too concerned about it. Bohr said, if there's only an offer to promote, say a high ticket course, how do you vary your emails and call to action? Well, those are kind of two questions. Let's start with how do you vary your call to action. You don't maybe necessarily need to vary your call to action, depending on the segment you're sending to. If you're sending to unconverted people, then you could continue to, if that's the only offer you have, you can continue to send until they convert. That's the first thing. How do you vary your emails? Well, you have tons. In the course, you have 14 different email formulas. You can tell a story one day. You can do a testimonial the next day. You can do a belief shift email. You can do a current event story. Like, there's always ways to continue to, like, what's happening in the business as you're working with people. New things are happening. Are people getting results that you could share? Right? Has the content evolved, developed? Have you added anything new? Like, there's always a way to kind of spin. Like my stuff. Like, I promote Make It Rain Monthly. This is month 25, right? Like, today's the last day for this upcoming issue. It's been 25 months, over 2 years of me promoting essentially the same thing. Like, obviously the content changes every month, but it's a newsletter about email marketing. I'm continuing to promote all the time, just changing it up. And the way that I've done the messaging has evolved over time. So that's what I'd say. Like, if you're sending to unconverted people, it's just continue to mix up the messaging until they convert. So anonymous attendee said, hope it's okay to ask, I have a copywriting business, a recent sales campaign for a longtime client who sells one high-ticket digital course, bombed, great open rates, but lower than usual click rates. Sales were the lowest they've ever been to. I strongly believe it's because the list hasn't grown and people aren't interested in this high-ticket offer after 6 rounds of selling it. My question, how can I prove my suspicion? How do I get to the bottom of what failed? I promise I'm a great copywriter who usually kills it with these things. So I'm truly at a loss. So whenever you have an offer that bombs and you don't know why, you ask your customers why they didn't buy. So you're going to do something called a why didn't you buy survey. And you're going to create a type form or a Google form or Gravity form or whatever. It doesn't matter what software you use, but it's going to be a 1-question survey. It's going to be like, hey, the email's going to say, hey, so obviously we just, closed enrollment for whatever the name of the course is. Let's just use mine, One Person Agency. Hey, we just closed enrollment for One Person Agency. I noticed you didn't end up joining. I'm just a little bit curious. Why didn't you end up jumping in with us? Would you be willing to tell me? I have a completely anonymous survey, it takes 30 seconds. It's literally just 1 question. I just want to know, like, what was your main reason for not wanting to join? Could you let me know? Really appreciate the favor. Thanks so much. Just do that, see what responses you get, because the people who respond are going to be people who were interested but didn't join for whatever reason. So it might be time, it might be money, it might be timing. I don't necessarily think, like, again, like, the list hasn't grown. Are we talking about a list of 200 people? Or are we talking a list of 200,000 people? Because that is, it could, if it's a small list, maybe, right? Maybe you've burned through all the buyers. The list hasn't grown. Like, my list isn't huge, and my list doesn't grow. My list grows like a microscopic pace. Like, my list, I don't know, maybe 150 people a month. I email, that's a net 150 plus 150, because I get, anywhere from 3 to 10 unsubscribes a day because I'm emailing so aggressively and so often, right? So my list doesn't grow by a huge amount, but we're still growing, still getting more customers and growing revenue every single month. So it's not necessarily about the size of the list, but the quality of it. And 6 rounds of selling it, like, maybe the offer is just not for them, but if they're still reading and opening and engaging, then it's something else. It's not the offer. Because otherwise, if they really weren't interested, they'd leave, or they just wouldn't engage anymore. So run that survey, see what they say. Dallas said, when someone joins your list, welcome campaign activated. Once over, how did they get back on the master list? Okay, once the welcome sequence activated, how do they get back on the master list to receive broadcasts? Depends on what software you're using. I mean, most of them are pretty, if they're tag based, it just depends on, like, when you're sending your broadcast, are you purposely excluding people in a certain sequence? Are you sending to everyone? Or it depends on how you're making your sequences. Like, most ESPs don't sequester someone off of the main mailing list. But there's 2 things. There's the welcome sequence is going to send people through, that starts with the trigger. And there's filters along the way that pull people out for any number of reasons. And the sequence ends, right? And then when you're sending a broadcast, that's a whole different function within the software where you're choosing before you send that who it's going to go to. So how they get back on the master list? They are on the master list. It's just you determine who you're sending to when you make your broadcast up. Julie said, thanks for that answer. I like variety too. Does it make it harder to market yourself if you write for a variety of niches? I don't think so. I write for every niche out there, and I have no shortage of clients. If you're good, you're good. And if you can prove that you're good, then people will want to work with you. So there's a lot of ways to do that. Case studies, authority content, like Kevin teaches, making your results known in the public, right? So I've never found it hard to work. I've never had someone be like, oh, well, you never worked with my industry before. I say, okay, well, I've worked with just about every other industry out there. And I'm pretty sure I can figure yours out too. And, I just haven't gotten that challenge in a long time. So that's kind of my answer there. Boris said, what can we do to improve our offer creation skills, coming with a variety of promo angles, not just discounts / bundles? So, okay, those are two different questions, right? What can we do to improve our offer creation skills? An offer is different than a promo. An offer is, I'm going to give you my money and you're going to give me this in return, right? A promo is a specific block of messaging that's going to get someone into an offer. Okay. So what can you do to improve your offer creation skills? Well, you read a lot of different copy, right? Sign up for a bunch of different lists. Like you should have an email where you are on lists in all different kinds of markets and studying what a lot of good companies, good marketers are doing. They're not all going to be doing great things, but you could see, okay, look, this company had this angle in their emails. This other company did something completely different. And part of it is just exposure at first. You need to see what a lot of different people are doing. And then you start to see patterns. Say, oh, a lot of people are doing this. Maybe it works pretty well. Maybe I'll try it out. So I think that's the number one thing. It's like hard to create in a vacuum. You need inputs if you're going to create better outputs. Erin said, can you talk about how to decide your pricing for email for someone starting out? The easiest way to do it is start low and then move up each job. I started like $25 an email. And now my agency would charge between $600 and $1,000 depending on the project. So just because whatever you pick at the beginning is not what you have to stay with. Basically, like pricing for email, the way that I found that it works well is to, what are you comfortable with? Like, what can you say on the phone to a client without your voice trembling? And that you're comfortable with, like, okay, I'm okay with this amount that I got paid, right? It's also about the ROI. Like if you're going to write an email for a client and do a launch and they're going to make $700,000 from that launch, I don't think it matters if you charge, does it matter to the client if you charge $75 or $85 or even $95 per email? Probably not, you know what I mean? So it really depends. If it's a small client where every dollar counts, then like, yeah, the pricing is going to matter more. But like I did a sequence for an email for clients this past Black Friday, and I just did like a couple emails for him. And I charged him, he's a longtime client. I just charged him like $400 an email. It took me like 20 minutes to do it. I just knocked it out. And that email, one of the emails that he paid me $400 for, he made $138K. Like, would it have mattered if I charged him $500 or $600? Probably not. You know what I mean? He made $138,000 from that one email, right? So part of it is looking at the ROI that the client's going to get, and part of it is looking at like, what are you comfortable saying? Some people are like, just charge $1,000 an email, bro. And like, yeah, I don't know, because you got to deliver the work. You got to make sure you're getting them a good solid ROI. So that's kind of my thoughts on pricing. Let me know if that helps. Steve said, what's your approach to planning sequences, like length, copy to use? Also, any tools you recommend to map out the sequence? Steve, if you haven't watched the $1 Million email sequences training in that you get in the portal, it's in Copy Chief somewhere. I would definitely start there. I kind of like, I would give you more answers here, but I literally mapped the entire thing out there, and it's a little bit more than just like a 60-second answer. So I would definitely watch that training, because that's going to show you, if you watch the training, you still have follow-up questions, I'm more than happy to answer. But I did like a whole training on that, and I'd literally answer every single thing you need to do to map it out. And it's pretty clean and easy and simple. So, and Lolita just posted it in there. So I would start there. It's not that I don't want to answer your question. It's just, I have a much better answer waiting for you. Julie said, I like to write for info product clients. One of my main target markets. What's the best way to find these people? Well, where are they hanging out, right? Think about this. It's like, okay, I have a course. Who am I learning from? What softwares am I using? Like, those are the two places, like, who are they learning from and what softwares are they using? If you figure out both of those things, you're going to find all of those pockets of people. So software is like, okay, well, what softwares do people use when they sell courses, right? There's Learn from Thrivecart, there's Kajabi, there's Teachable, there's Thinkific. What do they use to sell those courses? They use ConvertKit, they use ActiveCampaign, they use ClickFunnels, they use Samcart, they use, I'm sure there's another 150, like off the, very easy to find. So like, do they have Facebook groups? Okay, well, you go into the Kajabi Facebook group and pretty much everyone there is selling a course. Will they all be best clients? Probably not, right? Some of them might be better than others, but that's at least where they're hanging out. Who are they learning from, right? Like, oh, they're all seem to be learning from Jeff Walker. They all seem to be, or a large amount of people, like who teaches people how to create courses? Like, okay, if someone's teaching people how to create courses, there's probably a lot of clients there. Again, that's not the only way to find them, but the two easiest ways to find them, that's where you'd go, right? It's like, what tools are they using and who are they learning from? That's always what I think about with any kind of client. Same thing for e-com, right? Like on the other side of the spectrum, what e-commerce tools are people using? Like, okay, they're using these softwares. Can I be an affiliate for these softwares? Can I be in their communities, right? Who are they learning this stuff from? So that's kind of the way I think about that. George said, I noticed you use a lot of slang/dialogue in your emails and subject lines. I feel like that's one of the most eye-catching aspects of your emails. Do you have a process for coming up with that language? Is it just from market research? So my emails, it depends. Like, are you talking, George, about my emails to my list or the emails that we write for our clients? Because those are two different things. With my own emails, the slang, the dialogue, that's just me having fun and letting it fly and saying whatever the hell I want to say. The slang, like I did the whole Zoomer slang, the bussin' email. That one I actually pulled up I pulled up this list of like Zoomer slang because I thought it was funny. You know, like there's a lot of like these Zoomer kids who go to the gym by me, and I see them with their mullets and their broccoli haircuts, and I'm just like, what's with these kids? You know, so I just was investigating one day, and but I'm sure you're not just talking about that email. I just like being a very colorful writer and just trying different things with language and the dialogue stuff. I think dialogue, you know, when I was a teacher, and I used to teach writing, back in my first teaching job, I taught elementary school math and language arts, and I teach writing, and we had all these exercises and like frameworks to give to people, to the kids. And one of the things that we learned, like when you're writing, is like there's basically 5 types of sentences that you can write. There's actions, thoughts, feelings, dialogue, and there's literary devices, right? So if you look at your own writing, you could, with 5 different highlighters, each sentence would be one of those 5 categories, right? So you could see like some writers are heavy on the dialogue, right? Some writers are heavy with the action. And like you can do this with novels that you read. You could literally go through with a different color highlighter and say, okay, their style is dialogue heavy, or maybe they're pretty balanced, or maybe they use a ton of literary devices. By literary devices, I mean things like similes, metaphors, analogies, personification, probably another 2 or 3 dozen, right? So yeah, a process for coming up with that language. No, I just like getting crazy with it and just writing whatever the hell I want. That's kind of, for lack of a better, I just like getting creative and just trying. My email list is my lab, so I just try different things all the time. Dallas said, what are the psychographic questions worth asking? What do you mean, Dallas? I'm not sure what you mean by worth asking for what. What do you mean by psychographic questions? Give me some more context, I'll answer that. Boris said, what kind of regular emails should you send to customers long after they've bought a high-ticket course, nothing else to sell, it's the only offer? Ask them what else they need help with and then create another offer for them. That's what I would do. We could send them affiliate stuff, but I would just ask them, be like, hey, you know, you've been through the course, like what's the next challenge in your life that we might be able to help you with? I would start there because they'll tell you, they'll either say, hey, you know, I feel really good about this, you know, coaching offer that I have now, but now I have no traffic. And 10 people tell you this, okay, we need to create a traffic offer or sell someone else's traffic offer to them. So I would do that. Dal said, I noticed you do everything, landing pages, etc. Would you recommend outsourcing in the beginning? I don't recommend outsourcing in the beginning because outsourcing and hiring and delegating is a skill in and of itself. And if you're starting out and just learning how to write copy, those are 2 big skills: you're learning how to write copy and learning how to delegate. So it's like, oh, just outsource it. Like, yeah, if you have someone really good, but people who are really good tend to charge a lot of money. So, which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong. I love working with A players, but there still needs to be management in place. So in terms of like, we do everything. We don't do everything. We do a lot of emails. We do some landing pages. That's pretty much our sweet spot. Julie said, is it okay to just write emails for clients and let them set up their own ESP? Yeah, absolutely. We've had tons of clients where we just write the emails and hand them a Google document We have other clients who want us to do fully managed stuff, and we have capabilities to do that. You don't need, it's actually not hard to do the ESP stuff. Like it might take an hour to figure out in the beginning, but once it's figured out, it's a problem you only have to solve once. And you could charge a lot more if you do the ESP stuff because they don't want to do it and they don't want to push the buttons. They don't know how to use their software. So like Klaviyo is easy. Active Campaign is a little bit, there's a lot of bells and whistles in there, but like ConvertKit's easy as hell. Most of them are not that difficult and they'll kind of work the same way. So you don't have to though. Like if you just like writing the copy and you hate pushing buttons, don't push buttons, just sell the copy. Dallas said demographics is age, gender, psychographic questions and research that are valuable. Well, Dallas, I'm just struggling with the question still because I went through my whole market research project in module 1. And I've kind of covered psychographics and demographics in there. You know, if you can be more specific, it's a very vague question. It's not really sure what, like, I think there's a question behind your question. So like, ask me that question. Or said, how do you do client onboarding calls effectively to dig out brand stories, personal stories? So the easiest one to do here is say, so tell me like how you started this brand. And then start them at the beginning. Have them tell you the origin story. Have them tell you what it was like building it up. And then from there, a way you can take the conversation is tell me about some of your, who's your favorite customer ever? Be like, oh, we got this guy. His name is Bob. And let me tell you something. Bob buys all our products. He's been with us from the beginning and he sends us these pictures of him using the stuff and blah, blah, blah. And like, just get them on a roll that way. And good clients won't hold that stuff back. Like you just got to ask questions and shut your mouth and listen, and they will tell you everything you want to know. So most of the client onboarding calls, I'm just asking like a pointed question like that. I'm like, so, why do you think your product's the best? And they'll you start telling stories there. I'll be like, how is your product different and better than your competitors? What's unique about your product? Yeah, that's kind of, am I still here? So they'll just the host. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question more. What else we got? That's the whole queue. Is that everything? That can't be it. What else we got? Don't all jump at once. Okay. Erin said, how long do you spend in market research before writing your copy, especially if you're working with multiple clients? I spend less time now than I used to. That's the first thing I'll say. What happens is, as your career goes on, you're going to work with a lot of clients, and the research that you had for those markets probably isn't going to change. Like I've worked with like 5 or 6 different like food companies in terms of like either meal kit companies or meal prep companies or companies that just sell food like meat through the mail or through online. So there's a lot of overlap between clients in similar markets. So like in the beginning, yeah, I spent a lot of time, but now I've worked in between all the courses and clients and coaching, consulting, and one-on-one client work that I've done. Probably work with, I don't know, 300-400 different like niches. So I don't know. There's not much that I haven't seen at this point. Every now and then someone will be like, okay, that's a first for me. I've never worked with this kind of business. So one client sent me, or someone that I'd given some advice to, they sent me this stuff. This is like spray. This was called, what the hell is this company called? Creativesprays.com, I guess is the website, but they had sent me this essential oils and energy aiding crystals and balance your personal space, deliver a calm, soothing environment. So like when I got this, they sent me this, Moonwater Elixirs, that's what it's called. Moonwater Elixirs. So sage plus clearing spray. They sent me like a whole box of stuff. And when I saw this, I was like, okay, that's a new one for me. Like I have not sold anything in this market before, in the energy clearing and burning sage. And this was like very new for me. So with a market like that, it's going to take a little bit more time for me to actually get into the mindset of the people. And I'm kind of starting from scratch there. But I could also ask, is it similar to anything else in like the woo-woo, personal development, healing type space? And then, so yeah, it's a lot like these. I'll just say like, who are your clients? Like, tell me about these people. And then I'll see if I know anyone who's like that in my own life that I could talk to. Like, oh yeah, I'm just writing to that person, right? I'm writing to Susie because she's into that, all that shit, right? So that's kind of the way to shortcut it. But it takes a lot in the beginning, but a lot of times good clients with developed business, they'll know their market. They'll be like, here's our market. We thought our market was this. After a few years in business, we realized this was our market. And they'll literally tell you the answer to the quiz. If you have a client who doesn't know their market, they're a very underdeveloped business, and it's gonna be a lot more work on you, and it's gonna be more of an uphill battle. Julie said, isn't $25 a really low rate to start out? If I were a client, this price would make me question how good the writer is. I'm thinking $100 per email would be reasonable to start. Your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, if I put out a call for an email writer and they told me $25, I'd say absolutely not. I just wouldn't hire that person. But again, like, what kind of client are you working with, right? Like, because maybe you're working with someone else who's just starting a business and they're your first client, right? So like my first email gig was like $25, and I went to $50. I went to 75. I said, holy shit, I'm getting paid $75 an email like this. I went to 100, and I went to 125. I told myself I got to 125, and I was like, this is like the ceiling. I was like, I can't imagine ever getting, like, people would pay more than this. I got to 150, then 175, then 200, then 225, then 250, then 275. And I said, can I do 300? I did 300. I said, okay, that's the ceiling. And then I went to 350, and then I went to 400, and then I went to 600, and then I got a few gigs at 1,000. I said, holy shit, okay, I guess the sky's kind of the limit here. So yeah, there's definitely one of those things where, like, sometimes your pricing will reveal that you're a newbie. So there's, $100 an email is not bad. Again, like with $100 an email, like, how long is it gonna take you to do? Like, if you can knock out an email in 30 or 40 minutes, and you got paid $100 to do that, are you happy with that amount of money that you got paid? And is your client getting an ROI? If you're happy and they're getting a good ROI, you're good. So that's kind of where I'd go there. If it's your very first gig, you might not, and they're gonna say, wow, I'm gonna pay $100 an email. Like, what have you done before? And then, okay, maybe you price too high, but that's a discussion at that point. Is the session available for replay yet? It's being recorded, it'll be uploaded probably soon. Jen said, how do you balance SEO / not giving away everything for free? Copy client wants to give away the farm on his blog because of the SEO benefits. I think this content should only be available in emails. What would you do, Chris? So if you're giving it away in emails, it doesn't matter if you're giving it away in SEO. Like, that's the thing, like, you're still giving away for free. What happens is, like, giving it away for free really matters when it's a one-on-one scenario. What I found is, like, the more shit I give away for free, the more people want to work with me, because they're like, wow, this guy really knows his shit. And I want to see how he applies his brain to my stuff personally, because it's like, cool, you did that with that brand and this brand and 30 other brands, and I can just follow that advice. But does that also apply to me? They always have that doubt in their mind. That's one thing. SEO is a bit of a different animal, because the thing too with SEO is, like, cold people are going to be finding you, and you want them to know that you're educated and you're pre-framing them with good stuff. And, they always have another problem for you to solve. So that's one thing I'll say as well. Also, like, everyone's not going to see all your content, and the people who do see your content, they're not going to remember your content. That's the thing. Like, I wish everyone remembered everything. I'll send 50 emails about something, and I'll still have people 3 weeks later be like, oh, I had no idea this was even going on. It's like, dude, I emailed you 50 times in 20 days. I'm like, what more do I need to do? So that's the thing. Like, I think Kevin has this saying that maybe he got from somewhere else. I don't remember where the original, I remember him telling it to me. You'd be, if you could only be so lucky that people would see your content twice, like, that's kind of the mentality. So I wouldn't worry about it. I'm just not worried about people. Thing is, like, if you're producing enough content, putting enough stuff out there, like, you're going to get more than enough leads to where it's not like, oh my God, I gave away this one thing I'm really good at, and now no one's ever going to hire me because I gave the answer in an article. I just don't think it's a problem. Bohr said, what would you do to tackle the problem of low click rates? Why are you optimizing for that metric? That's the first question that I would ask someone who presents me with that question. Like, how the sales, if the sales are, if it's non-existent click rates, then that's a problem. But, like, clicks, you put some GIFs, clickable GIFs. If it's a video or something, you turn it into a GIF and make it clickable. You add more links. You rotate the calls to action, hyperlink some text with desirable phrases. Like, that's not a hard problem to solve, but it's like, why are you trying to increase the clicks? Like, do you care about clicks? Or do you care about sales? Like, I'd worry more about the sales than the clicks. Danielle said, this is a pricing question. What's a good range to price launch emails, welcome sequences, and nurture sequences? I'm going to just kind of echo the pricing questions that they gave earlier, what are you comfortable charging, and how much of an ROI is your client going to get? So when we talk about ROI for a client, like, is your client going to get at least a 10x ROI? Again, that's not, it doesn't have to be that, but like some people are like, I want to charge a $5,000 retainer. And it's like, okay, well, you're going to do this work and maybe they only make $6,500 back from that effort. That's not a good ROI for the client, right? From a capital allocation perspective, they're not earning much on that investment. But if you charge a $5,000 retainer for this kind of stuff, and then they make $100,000 a month, that's a 20x ROI. That's a good investment on their part. They're going to continue to make that investment. So like, what's a good range? Well, how much is the launch going to do, right? How much traffic are they getting through their welcome sequence? Again, like sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes the client's like, hey, I don't have any traffic right now, but I know I need some place before I turn the traffic on. And they have 0 sales to show. Okay, or they have 0 traffic going through. Okay, cool. It's going to be this. This is what I'm comfortable charging. And I think over time you'll make an ROI on this. But the pricing, you pick a number you're comfortable with and start working your way up from there. So that's what I'd say. Rob said, what's the best way to respond when a client who previously wrote their own copy tells you this doesn't sound like me or this is my voice? I would be like, what parts specifically don't sound like you? And please let me know, because I want to, how would you say this instead? Because if someone just looks at it and says, this doesn't sound like me, it's okay, well, what parts don't sound like you? Like, walk me through line by line. Help me understand so that I can get it right, fix this one, and then every other one is that much closer. Because if they just say, oh, this doesn't sound like me, sometimes they'll be like, well, really, it's just this one line. A lot of times that'll happen. They'll be like, well, actually, it's just this one little paragraph right there. We changed that and that's fine. But if you didn't push back, you'll never know. And if they don't give you feedback on it, well, then that's not going to be a good client long term. They're like, well, it's just not me. It's just not going to work. Okay, well, then they're not willing to work with you and you got to move on. But if it doesn't sound like, you'd be like, well, what specifically, can we go through this line by line and tell me like why it doesn't sound like you? And you can kind of suss out, and you do that a few times, you start to notice, okay, they always like doing this, or they always like structuring it like this, or they're like saying things this way, or explaining this problem in this way. So that's what I would say there. Peter says, if a customer comes to you and doesn't have a clear strategy, do you charge to help them figure it out before you do a quote for a price? Emails, landing pages, similar to a consultant? You can. I've done that sometimes. Sometimes the strategy is like baked right in. It's like, it depends. Like, okay, so strategy, like overall email marketing strategy, and like for a retainer, as if it's like a retainer that I'm closing, I'll be like, yeah, we're just going to build the strategy as we go. And strategy is not that like difficult anyway. If it's like a launch, strategy is kind of baked right in, but you can do just a strategy in the beginning. I don't like doing that, because I'm just like, just give me the bigger amount of money and we'll just get the freaking job done. You know, like not everyone's like that. I just got off the phone about an hour ago with a client, and I pitched them a $10,000 strategy only package. We'll see if they come back. If not, whatever. But so I guess, yeah, I guess I do that. I'm not gonna be doing it in the implementation, just working with them and their in-house team on the strategy and get all that stuff set up. So you can, absolutely, it's just what you prefer doing. Dow said, as you do surveys to extract information, what percentage is good for returning the survey? I don't know, that's kind of splitting hairs. It's not really an important question. I don't ever look at what percentage of people filled out the survey. I just look at the response that I get from people who did engage, and I base my information off that. You know, if you have a 100,000 person list and you get 2 responses, okay, well, then that's a shitty result. But like, really, you know, if you have a decent sized list and you're getting a couple dozen responses, you have enough data and you're starting to notice patterns within the data, then that's enough to make it statistically significant in my book. Siobhan said, do you have a strategy for getting a raise from an existing client? So, okay, here's how that works. With just like with a regular job, if you're outperforming the roles and responsibilities of the role and really continuing to exceed in performance, it's easier to ask for a raise. If you're knocking out of the park, if you're, you know, their goal was, you know, 100K a month and you're pulling down 220,000, 179,000, $260,000 months, and they're only expecting 100K from the stuff that you're doing, you're like, hey, I'm really doing well for you. I think I deserve, you know, a raise for me to keep doing this work. The thing with raises and asking for that is like, they got to say 2, obviously. And they have to make the determination, do I want to do this, or am I willing to walk away from the table and walk away from this person and this deal? They could say no, obviously, but then you also get to determine whether you want to walk away as well. So a lot of times a raise from an existing client, if you can't demonstrate an enormous ROI, like if you're going to change, clients are not going to pay you more money to do the same thing that you're doing. So if you're doing something above and beyond what was initially agreed upon, or like if you want to get more money from an existing client, you know, if you're going to change X, you also have to change Y. So if you're going to change the price, you also have to change the value that you bring. Value could be in more deliverables, or it could be you doing different things that produce a better outcome, or it could be both. Or it could just be, you know, you're crushing it and you've already changed Y, and now you need to change X to catch up with the increase in the value of Y. Does everyone understand the X and the Y variables in this equation here? X is the amount that you're getting paid, and Y is the value that you're bringing. So if X changes, Y has to change, and if Y changes, you should change X. So hopefully it's a little bit abstract what we're thinking about it, but that's kind of the way I think about it. Anonymous attendee said, how do you position yourself as an expert when you're new? Well, you don't, because you're not an expert because you are new, right? So you can't position yourself as an expert when you're new. So what do? You tell the stories of the wins that you've gotten. That's it. You don't position yourself as, you don't pose in front of a Lamborghini and say, I'm the best, look at me and I'm the fucking man, and yada, yada, yada. Like a lot of people do that, unfortunately, and they have very short-lived careers. And don't have longevity, and usually get fattened out pretty fast. But you're not going to position yourself as an expert when you're new. You don't have to do that either. All you have to do is say, hey, I'm really good at solving this problem. I've solved this problem before, or I have ways that I could solve this problem. Let me demonstrate to you through actual real life examples. What a lot of people do is, like, I see this on Twitter and on Facebook, and like a lot of copywriters, like people who started maybe at the same time as me, they're still stuck, and like, I'm on a rocket ship to the moon. Like, I'm not smarter than anyone. Well, maybe I am. But the reason why I've achieved so much traction is because all I do is just tell about I just talk about the work that I've done. A lot of people, they'll like, I see this on Twitter, they're trying to like write these tweets on Facebook. They're trying to write these posts that are going to go viral. They're going to light the world up. And they're just like, there's 7 secrets from the book, like test advertising method. And like, cool, man, I'll read the book then. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need your take on it. Like, tell me about the work that you've done. That's what I do. All I do is talk about the work that I've done. I don't talk about theory. I don't talk about stuff other people have done. Like Elon Musk has these 3 marketing secrets. Like, who gives a shit? I give a shit about what I've done. And that's the only thing that matters. Like, so when you're new, you don't have a lot of clients, but like you do a project that works well. Hey, I did this project. One thing I learned from this project, if you are in this kind of business and you do this kind of thing, this is something you might want to try. That is how you position yourself as someone who's good at solving problems with people. That's how you get more business. That's literally my entire career. That's all I've done, is just look at all my content from years back. 90% of the time, when I'm not like shit posting with my emails, I'm just talking about, we did this, here's how it worked, here's what we learned from it, you should try it too. That's it. It's like showing my work, essentially, like what Kevin teaches. Obviously, he's been my coach for 6 years now. You know what I mean? Like, it's burned into my brain. So that's what I'd say there. Ryan said, how do you pick your subject lines for emails? If you have 5 to 8 written out, do you select 2 you think are good and test that? Yeah, go with your gut. Like, which one, your gut feeling. You know, they call the gut the second brain. Everything I do in my business, I go by my gut. So I just say, which ones do I think will work the best? I wish I had a more scientific answer, but it's kind of a feel thing. It's like you write out 5 to 8. It's like, I like this one. And maybe you have the one that you think is going to do the best, and the one that you're like, this might be the sneaky dark horse pick that like surprises everyone, right? And I would test those too. Jen said, thanks, Chris. Let me clarify. I'd really like to use this valuable content to build our list, but I think you're saying we can repurpose blog content after the fact and turn it into a nurture sequence. Yeah, you can do that. That's fine. I mean, the thing with all this content stuff, like, you're not just producing content or produce emails to produce content or produce emails. It's like, how do we solve someone's problem, right? How do we demonstrate that we can solve someone's problem? So yeah, you absolutely can do that, but make sure it's in service of achieving the objective that you want to achieve. Julie said, I've been writing for a while and I've done emails, but I don't have result figures for those emails, how to position my skill set without actual wins/statistics. So you don't need statistics, right? Like, I wrote an article a while back. I've written a lot of articles, but one was about like what I learned working on an 8-figure webinar sequence. And like, I didn't build the webinar, but I built all the sequences around it. I mean, I scripted parts of it over the years and had more of a fingerprint on it for one of my clients, but I didn't even reveal who the client was. I didn't reveal any numbers either. Just talked about things I learned by creating the project. Like, if you do a really good nurture sequence, even if you don't have the numbers, like, hey, I think this worked really well because the first email we did was blah, 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 and talk about it that way. So if you don't have result figures, that's fine. talk about the work, talk about the frameworks, talk about how you thought about crafting the copy, show examples before the sequence used to look like this, and then rework the copy and looks like this. And here's why I did that, because tip 1, tip 2, tip 3, there's a way to do that. George said, has the iOS update affected the way you look at email metrics? Not really. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Like some clients more than others. Like we have some ecom brands that work with where they're like segmenting Apple Mail users versus non-Apple Mail users. Like the Apple Mail users, the opens are twice as high. But at the end of the day, like sales are sales and clicks are clicks, and engagement replies are replies, and time, on-site visits or on-site visits. So like, it's just opens that are affected, and like I don't really care as much about opens. It's nice to get, you want good opens, obviously, but I haven't changed I've changed the way we create segments, and I've changed the way we think about, scrubbing off inactives, but not really. I haven't changed that much. Honestly, I think the impact, we still haven't seen the majority of the impact anyway, so maybe ask me again in 6 months. Or said, how do you get ideas of what the segment and emails that you could send to that specific segment? I know the big categories of engagement, interest, source triggers, but I'm having trouble discovering new opportunities to extract more money out of the same list. Okay, so what do you want to sell, and who does it make sense to sell to? Like it's not just like, there's no like magic segment hiding in your list. Like, oh, if we just sent to this one segment, like money would fall out of the sky. Like, yeah, you probably make money, but like, what do you want to sell? Like, it doesn't start with the segment. It starts with the offer, and it starts with, what is the KPI we're trying to hit? Okay, we're trying to move 1,000 of these units by the next 60 days. Okay, well, if that's the goal, then I design segments around that. So the question of segmenting, that everyone just thinks segmenting. It's like, yeah, but segmenting for what purpose? Like, what are we trying to do with these segments? Because a segment is just a tool that you create. It's just a sub list that you pull from the main list and say, okay, we have this thing to sell. We want to sell this many. Who are the people we could sell this to? So it's got to start with the offers and the KPIs you're trying to hit. Rob, so thoughts on clients who want to sample email before they commit to working with you? I'd say, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to write one email for you. My rate per email is this. I'll send you an invoice. We'll get that test project started, and we'll go from there. How does that sound? And they say, oh, I thought you'd give me a free one. Say, oh, actually, I don't do that. I don't work for free. I'm more than happy to do a test project. A good client's not going to care. We do test projects all the time. And in fact, you shouldn't even let it get to the point where they're asking for a sample email, because what you should be doing is when you're talking with that client, say, hey, so if we'd like to get started, what I recommend, what I do with most clients, we do a test project. And based on our conversation today, it sounds like maybe starting with these 3 emails might be a good test for us to kind of date before we get married and go down the road to a bigger project. My rate per email is this. I'll let us send an invoice. We can get started. How does that sound? So it's a little bit about controlling the frame. If someone wants you to do a free one, it depends. Like if it's just some schmucko client who's just trying to get a free one out of you and they just need 1 email written, okay, well then tell that guy to go kick rocks, right? But like there was one Facebook group I was in a while back, and there was a writing test for a client for this big, you had to go through this application and send your resume and like do a writing test, and the writing test was part of the process. And people were like bitching and moaning, like, oh my God, how dare they ask for free work? The client was Marie Forleo. So it's like, okay, you could cry about it, but like maybe in that case, it's worth it to do a sample email, because then you get a gig with Marie Forleo, So it really just depends. Like, I don't think Marie Forleo needs your sample email to run her business. You know what I mean? It's just a vetting mechanism. So it depends on the context. If it's just like a random client that is trying to get a free one out of you, cool. But if it's like, hey, we have an application, we've had 500 applicants, this is part of our screening process to see who's serious about this, who actually wants this opportunity, maybe do the sample email. But it's again, it's very context dependent. So that's what I'd say there. Dow said most clients are all over the place with their awareness, so all types of content to bring awareness and move through the customer journey. So all types of content to bring awareness. I do not understand what that question is. Perhaps you could reword that so I could answer it. Rob said thoughts on clients who don't want to give you access to their ESP. Yeah, that's a good one. I just ask people before the relationship begins. Well, what happens is like, it depends on the context again. Like clients reach out to me. So I say, hey, if you want my help, I'd like to take a look under the hood and give you some ideas for some things we might be able to do to help you make more revenue. So add me to your ESP. Never had a client say no. If a client doesn't want to do that, I say, okay, well, I wish you the best of luck and good luck with your email marketing. Again, like if it's like a retainer gig that you applied for and you're just the guy writing the copy or the girl writing the copy, then they might not want to give you the access to the ESP because they don't feel like you need it. And like, okay, well, that's a different situation. Like when I was at NeuroGym, I didn't have access to the ESP. When I was in Jeff Walker's team, I didn't have access to the ESP. I also didn't care. Like, I don't need to go back. I don't want to push buttons. I don't want that responsibility. So it just depends on the context of, if the client's reaching out to me and they want to work with my agency and they're like, oh no, we can't show the ESP. I'll be like, cool, have a great day. But if the context is different, where it's not mission critical to my job, the job I'm trying to do in the contract that I'm executing on, then, it's a nice to have, but it depends on if they're viewing you as a copywriter or as a strategist, in that kind of role. Julie said, should we ask clients for the results of each of our emails so we know how it performed? Yeah, I like to do that. The thing, usually, like if it's a launch, just like go ahead, the launch goes, like, hey, how'd that launch do? How'd we do? How'd we end up? A lot of times when they don't tell you, it's not necessarily because they don't want you to know, it's just they're busy and they're moving on to other things. They just forget, right? Nothing wrong with reaching out. They still might not tell you. We've had clients not tell us, and okay, nothing we can do about that. But yeah, I like to ask. Let's say, hey, how's that sequence doing? Just checking in. Just want to see how's the performance. You want to take a look at the numbers, see if there's any other pivots we can make. Sometimes they say, nope, we're all good. Okay, and then you can't force people to show them your numbers, But a good client, good clients will, and those are the ones you hang on to and continue to work with. So clients are. It's kind of like that analogy of like you gotta kiss a few frogs to get to your prince, and you'll get your princes, but you got to kiss a bunch of frogs, right? So like that's like I've had some clients who are absolute shitheads, and I've just taken the money, done the job, delivered on the contract, did the best that I could. They got a good result, and we moved on, parted ways. And I've got other clients that I've worked with for 5-6 years now. So that's kind of my thoughts there. Cool. I cleared the queue. 42 questions down. What else we got? Got a few more minutes here. What else? Any other questions while you got me here? I think these are some pretty good ones. Pretty solid stuff. Pop me when you got them. Where can we access the bonuses in this course? That should be within your course portal. It's probably more of a Lolita question, but they should be in the portal somewhere in the back end. I'm not totally sure. Boris said, how do you set up deals with email designers, like hourly rates for emails? We don't have designers, so I don't really know. I would guess you could just do a flat rate. But again, I haven't hired an email designer, so I can't give you an answer on something I haven't done. How do you share emails in your portfolio? Well, Jen, my portfolio is massive. I have my website, I have my newsletter, I have my products, I have the 100+ articles I've written, I have the trainings that I've done where I've shown email examples. So my answer might be a little bit different than your answer. You could put it into a Google document. You could put on your website as well. I think writing articles with examples of your emails is the best way because no one's going to do that. People do not have the guts to put their work out there. Again, obviously get permission from your clients and yada, yada, yada. I have that baked into my thing that we can retain the copy for use of our marketing efforts in my contract. But a lot of people just do Google documents when writers apply or have applied in the past. You usually just send a Google document, that's fine. But like make it nice, make it look good, make it organized, have chapters. They could skip around to certain things, add some context about the emails. Don't just like pop a bunch of emails with no context. Hey, this was for this kind of client and here was the problem they were facing and here's what we did. Turn into a mini case study. Rob said, how do we apply to write for your agency? We're not hiring now. When we are hiring, if and when we do that, we will go to my email list and send out an email about it. So make sure you are paying attention to my emails if you are not already doing so. All righty. 46 down. That's like a question a minute. It's pretty good. Pretty good speed there. What else we got? Got a few more minutes. Who else got some questions? Rob said, thanks, really helpful Q&A. Glad you liked it. Glad you guys showed up live. We could fit in one or two more if anyone's got anything. I'll give it a second, see if anyone is going to pop anything in here. All righty, guess we will wrap it up. It's a pretty good session. Oh, Denise said, have you told the story of your start in copywriting? I probably told it about 30 times on podcasts and things like that. If you go to my website, I'll just pop in the link. I have a link to all the podcast episodes that I've been on. Let me just grab that real quick. If you guys have seen the new site, but it's pretty lit. Nice design here. I just popped the link in the chat. That is where you could listen to a lot of the podcast episodes that I've been on. I tell my story, how I got my start. There's a good Copy Chief Live episodes, Copywriter Club, I've told my story. There's a bunch of other ones, but those are definitely good ones to listen to. Okay, actually got another question here. Rob said, I heard it's advised to marry the subject line to the CTA text. Thoughts? I don't rarely do that. That means you make the subject line the same as the hyperlink in the email. Oftentimes I include multiple hyperlinks, A, so that rule doesn't apply for me there. And then B, does it work? Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure some of this data is showing it does. I just don't worry about it. I just write whatever I want for the subject line. And then, well, I don't just randomly put stuff. I literally wrote a 59-page newsletter issue that's shipping out tomorrow called Make It Rain Monthly. That's going out where I talk about my subject line philosophy. So is it the best practice? I don't know. I don't do it. So, test it out, see how it works. It might work. I don't know. I just don't pay attention to that. Chad said, are you still doing any lead magnet posts on social media to grow your list, or are you long past that? I might still do them. I just haven't rolled out a new lead magnet in a while. We just rolled out our $500 per email training that we're doing testing with Facebook ads, but we're strictly doing that to cold traffic or colder traffic. So it's a good strategy. And now that my list is almost 5,300 people, I'd probably get 1,000 comments on that thing at least. So I could do it. I just have been so busy that, and we haven't done any like real new lead magnets, so I haven't had a need to. Erin said, do you have like a glossary of all the direct response jargons or email marketing? No, I don't. I don't know, just read a lot of books. You'll pick it up. We said, like the new site. Thank you very much. Glad you guys like it. Let's see, did I miss anything in the chat? Yeah, the replay will be out. It'll probably be in the portal, I think. See if there's anything else. Any final questions? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Last call. Ugly lights are going on. He said, I learned so much from you, not just info, but tone. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm excited to see how you guys do. It's a simple system, guys. Just implement and don't be afraid. You're a lot of people, especially if you're new and you're at the beginning of your journey, there's a learning curve. There's going to take reps and practice, but your hands will build up calluses over time, and you'll get stronger and better. So it's just one of those things, keep moving forward, keep kicking ass, and keep me posted with how you guys do. And one last thing, if you guys have been to the course, if you enjoy it, we would love and appreciate a testimonial. If you wanted to send us one, you could shoot us over an email. You could post it inside Copy Chief somewhere, but we'd love to see that. And it's always very much appreciated. So thank you guys so much. You guys kick ass. I'm rooting for you guys. I'm always in your corner. I'm here for you. And let's make it rain. See you guys later. Bye.